Hello, I am Kellie Woodson. Today's video post focuses on an article I found in the Virginia Mercury, which is an independent nonprofit news organization covering Virginia government and policy. The article in reference is titled, "The Virginia Board of Education is considering recommendations to force the hand of the General Assembly." This article was written on July 29, 2019 by Michelle Hankerson. The Virginia Board of Education is considering a recommendation that would provide minimum funding requirements for the use of at-risk add-on funds by K-12 public schools. At-risk add-on funds are a state budget item targeting low-income, at-risk students. The at-risk add-on was created in 1992 in response to a need for additional state funding to educate low-income students. At the time this was created, the cost of educating low-income students in the state of Virginia exceeded the amount provided set by the state's standards of quality. The goal of the at-risk add-on was to provide state funding that would compensate schools for the higher cost of educating low-income students, during which time was the responsibility of local governments. Today, Virginia's at-risk add-on provides school divisions between 1 to 13% more funding for every low-income student in their schools, depending on the concentration of low-income students within that school division. Low-income students are defined by those who qualify for the federal free or reduced lunch program. A suggestion for the Virginia Assembly is to increase the range of support for Virginia's at-risk add-on funds. This increase would restore support back to the pre-recession days for Virginia schools. The supports provided by at-risk add-on funds decreased significantly during the recession. The current adopted two-year budget will restore just 26% of the cuts in Virginia's highest poverty school divisions on a per-student basis, just after adjusting for inflation, while restoring 40% of the cuts for the wealthiest school divisions. The use of at-risk add-on funds would be used on the percentage of students who are in a reduced or free lunch program. The ideal of at-risk add-on funds is to provide school systems more freedom in determining how these funds will be used. For example, school divisions would have the ability to decide whether or not the funds could be used towards the hiring of staff, the number of staff to be hired, the number of nurses, perhaps the hiring of additional support staff such as school counselors or remediation support for those students that are incapable of passing the standards of learning assessments. This could also be used for the reduction of class size by placing a cap on class sizes as set by school districts. SOQs provide guidelines for minimum resources in schools related to staffing, student achievement and graduation, accreditation, and other areas. SOQs are revised every 2 years. The Virginia education system lags far behind other states in its funding for low-income students. According to the state constitution, only the General Assembly can revise the board's standards of quality. Lawmakers determine the manner in which funds are to be provided for the cost of maintaining an educational program, meeting the prescribed standards of quality. The goal for the use of at-risk add-on funds is to allow school districts the freedom and the ability to utilize these funds as needed by the specific school districts. In closing, what is significant is the gap that currently exists for state support of low-income students by the state of Virginia in comparison to support of low-income students in other states. There is a definite need for this gap to be closed, and a way to address that would be the Virginia SOQs making adjustments that would allow for school districts to have more autonomy in the use of at-risk add-on funds, and also an increase of the amount of support these at-risk add-on funds would provide.